Okay, let's talk about chapter 11 on media. Now, before you get into the chapter, I just want to remind you that the 8th edition of our textbook was published in 2017. So you may find that some of the things that you read are no longer relevant or seem kind of old. And that is the beauty and the excitement of technology. It's always evolving and ever changing. And so as we learn about media, it makes me feel older because when I was in college, I didn't even own a cell phone. Cell phones were still relatively new and I didn't get one until after my undergrad degree. And so it just always is changing, but that also makes it wonderful. So as we talk about media literacy, you're going to find that as a communicator, it's important to know your audience and to be aware of their media literacy if you are using a media channel to communicate. And so you're going to note that there's always going to be some sort of digital divide within the world, and there's always the early adopters that jump right onto the new technology, and then there's also the other end of the spectrum and people who are last and late to receive the technology and so may be blocked from information because of this digital divide. We saw that in the pandemic, that certain communities and certain regions were disadvantaged even when we transitioned to online schooling. That was a factor. And then of course with the vaccines, there was also a digital divide that was seen. So there are two basic parts of media in this chapter, and the first one is going to deal with social media. And so social media is when we're talking about our social media platforms. Think about Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and there may even be more by the time you get to watch this mini lecture. And then there's a theory that we'll look at, and it deals with uses and gratification theory. This theory says that the user, the consumer of the social media or the media platform, will select the media that will satisfy them, will meet their needs. So for instance, if I'm sad, then I might tend to watch a sad, somber movie. If I'm happy, I might want to play a really happy song on the radio or on my cell phone. Then the other part of media compared to social media is the mass media. And to define something as mass media, although social media is trending toward a mass media is intended to reach a large audience at the same time. So think about your news stations and news media platforms. Those are considered mass media. And behind every news organization or mass media platform, there's going to be what is considered to be a gatekeeper, a person who decides what stories to run and what news to present, and even insofar as the order or the placement on the newspaper, because newspapers would be a form of mass media, and what story makes the front page would be determined by a gatekeeper, and what story gets hidden on the back page or not even printed at all. So there's going to be a lot of agenda setting, and our social media of course is trending towards mass media, and so you do see a lot of agenda setting on your social media platforms, even in the way of the news and what's pushed to the front and promoted. And so agenda setting just refers to the fact that each organization, each sponsor is going to have an ulterior motive, and that motive may not be predominant and may not come to the forefront of their agenda, but it is important to recognize that these sources are not neutral, and so there is a bias and there is an intent behind the message. And then of course mainstreaming refers to the point when the message has become so infiltrated into society that it does feel like it is part of the mainstream. even if it is not even factual or true. I know you'll enjoy this chapter, and I look forward to seeing you on the discussion board.